Jason Mraz, and I've said before, Jason Mraz grew up in a Science of Mind church, a very big star now, and his songs. I mean, can you think of anybody else who writes a song, in the lyric of their song says, everyone is nature, everyone is God? I remember the first time I heard this song, I was like, who wrote this? He has to be a religious scientist. And lo and behold, he was a religious scientist. So I want to look at some of his lyrics to start. People done gone crazy. Anybody? People done gone crazy. People done gone mad. People done forgot the superpower we all have. What is that superpower? Yell it out. Louder. Mind. Who said mind? Thank you, Marilyn Murphy. Our superpower is our mind. That's the power you have. And he says, we were born to love, not hate. We can decide our fate. Do you know you're deciding your fate every time you use your mind? So this song is all about look for the good in everything, because if you're not willing to see the good, you're not bringing that good into your experience. So look for the good in everything is not just a Julie Andrews, supercalifragilistic moment. It's not just a sweet little moment. It's the spiritual truth of our lives. If you look for the good, you're going to find the good. You're going to live the good. If you look for the problem, you're going to find the problem, and you get to live the problem. So look for the good in everything. We can decide our fate. Look for the good in everything and celebrate our namaste. So he's basically saying, in a very nicely rhymed way, let's celebrate our oneness. Part of what's going on in our world right now is that we are so fractioned. There's the Republicans and the Democrats. There's the vaxxers and the anti-vaxxers. There's them and us. There's Europe and us. There's all these different breakdowns of this is the box you fit in. But Namaste says there is that in you and that in me, that when you are in your place and I am in my place, we are one. So when he says celebrate our Namaste, he's saying celebrate our wholeness, celebrate our oneness. So the title of my talk today is, What You Looking At? And it's not the Robert De Niro thing. You looking at me? No. It's you asking yourself, what are you looking at? What are you looking at in your life? I said at the top of service, I'm done looking at this COVID thing as the problem, as this huge problem. I recognize it, I see it. Where's the good? Tiffany actually took time off. Eric took time off. I didn't. When I had it, I just kept working. But I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't really go out anywhere. So there's good everywhere, no matter what. And if we're willing to just focus on the good, our lives are going to expand in that direction. So I started today with, when I was looking at this, saying, what you looking at? What do I want to do? Because right now, as Tiffany said, I am teaching Monday night, the energy of choice. Tuesday night, my second year of practitioner students. Wednesday night, the something universe, the mystical universe. Thursday night, advanced consciousness, which we are just finishing with Amit Goswami. And when all of those 4 classes are in my head, I really start to understand how I'm only teaching one thing. And they all tend to blend right into one another. Some are a little more scientific than others. Some are a little more difficult than others. But when I was putting the talk together, I was like, do I come out here and talk about quantum physics? Do I come out here with some of these phrases that most of you are going to just be like, what? And I thought, no, I don't do that, because that's not what I do in my life. I actually study all of this to see, where does it lead me? How can I live it? And I think actually Oprah Winfrey said it the best. She said, what you focus on expands. And when you focus on the goodness in your life, you create more of it. That's pretty simple. The scientific fact is, when we look at the observer effect, what you focus on, you grow. I mean, that's scientific. That's just the way cells work in the world. Whatever you put your attention on has some vibration that expands it. So imagine what you're doing in your brain, your mind, every time you allow yourself to be engaged in some form of negativity in your mind. Be it about something that's going on in the world, or even just about yourself. That's why we get so caught up in the past. we're looking at things to fix or to change or maybe just to keep ourselves in that mood. But the more we do that without seeing the good, because I'm not saying we should stick our heads in the sand and go, it's all good, it's all God. I don't feel that way. No, I feel that you should pick them up. Take a look at them for the good of it. To understand what's the purpose here and then let it move on. So Oprah, of course, has it right. What you focus on expands. And when you focus on the goodness in your life, you create more of it. So my first question for you today is this. What have you been looking at? I just want you to look at this week that you just finished. What have you been looking at in your mind? What's taken most of your attention? Or what's taken a lot of your attention? What are the things that you perhaps are looking at? And how are you looking at them? Are you looking for the good in them? Or are you complaining? You know my theory about complaining. If you can really get into a no complaining fashion of living, you don't give energy to that stuff, whatever it is. And I could complain. You know, you all have reasons to complain. You can prove to me why you should complain. But I can prove to you why you shouldn't, because it's not going to fix it. It's not going to help it. And looking for the good in the middle of it is way, way, way more important. So Deepak Chopra says it this way. The physical world, including our bodies, is a response to the observer. We create our bodies as we create the experience of our world. Because the body of your world is everything that's happening in it. And of course, this is your body. So the physical world, including our bodies, is a response of the observer. Every time you are using your mind in a way that does not boost who you are, that does not support the greatness of you, you are creating your experience in the world of that line of thinking, that thought, that energy, that vibration. You know, I teach a program called BODS. I haven't done it in a while. Being Our Dynamic Selves. And it's usually for people that want to lose weight, people that want to get themselves in better shape, people that want to really get the vibrancy of life back into their body. And what it ends up being at the end of the day, truly the entire substance of that program, and it has worked for many, many people. I was just reading some of the quotes that people gave for the last time we did BODS, and one of the quotes was from Barbara Shane, who, by the way, today is Barbara Shane's birthday. So we celebrate Barbara today. And certainly the quote that she gave, which is, "This is a program that I will take every time it's given." And she really got it. Barbara started changing her physical self every time she used her mind to change it. And this is the quote. This is one of my quotes. Next one. "You will never create a body different from the one in your head." Now just think about that for a minute. You will never create a physical body different from the one in your head. You can diet. You can try to lose weight. You can lose weight. You can lose tons of weight. It comes right back because the image hasn't changed. People always say to me, well, I know this is a program to, and it sounds like I'm selling this program. I'm not teaching it anytime soon. But people will say to me, I know you're saying that, but I lose the weight, but then it comes back on. Why does it come back on? Because you've done this to the physical body, but you haven't done anything to the physical body that's up in your head. How you see yourself. How do you see yourself? So that's really primate here. What is the way you see yourself in the world that you live in? What's the way you see your body? Do you see it as strong and vibrant? Do you see it as healthy? Or do you see it as aging? Cynthia's laughing. But that's a big deal. You don't have to see it as aging. It's very funny. I'm going to just tell it myself. So I shaved all the hair off on my face 2 days ago. I just decided I wanted to see what I looked like with no hair. Thank you. But I have these little things here that I never knew were there because I kept hair on my face for the last 4 years. And they're just things I used to see on my dad. And I was like, obviously, you just looked at these and now you're going to create from them. Because that's what's now in my head in this moment. I see the wrinkles. I see the little things coming here. My first response was, grow the hair back. You won't see it anymore. But my second response was, no, get rid of them. with your mind. Stop seeing yourself as aging. Stop agreeing with the image you have as an aging person. All of this is about, what are you looking at? So the next quote I have for you, which is our man, the mind is a magnet, and we attract that which we identify the self. In order to get the most out of life, we must learn consciously to change many of our habitual thought patterns. I just point you to the first sentence, first phrase. The mind is a magnet. What you are thinking about is sending out the waves of shock into the world and bringing everything like it into your experience. Every single time you engage in thinking that does not support what you want, you're mixing it up. You're confusing the universe. You can't, that's the whole idea of mixed messages. You can't say, this is what I want, and then think about all the stuff that's against it. Now you've got mixed messages, and you're going to get a mixed expression of life. So what you looking at? Back to that question. What have you been looking at all week? What's going on in your life that's getting your attention? So there's this thing called, and I was going to go into this, but I'm just going to say it, experience-dependent neuroplasticity. Say that 3 times fast. Experience-dependent neuroplasticity. Now, here's the thing. Neuroplasticity is when the brain multiplies, cells multiply. Experience-dependent neuroplasticity is when the stuff in your world creates these neural pathways in your brain that allow you to now respond and live based on what you've just created in your brain. Great, perfect example, a baby. When a baby is born, experience-dependent neuroplasticity is when they learn how to speak. And they only learn how to speak based on the experiences they're having of the people speaking around them. Thus, a child growing up in Mexico will speak Spanish. A child growing up in the United States, good luck what you're going to learn. But whatever family you're in, you're going to speak that language. It's not that that baby studied to speak that language. The brain listens to what you're hearing. The brain listens to what you're thinking. The brain listens, creates these divots in the brain, and now the baby learns how to speak. There's one example of it. Now think about what we're talking about here today. Every time you use your brain to think something negative, you are teaching your brain how to behave. And you're creating that experience for yourself. So, my question to you today, second question is, what are you teaching yourself? What are you teaching yourself? You know, I went through my week this week, and Will has been home for Christmas since, well, I guess, the beginning of December almost, the second week of December. He just went home this morning on the plane. And, you know, as we were talking this week, Will has been really on me about getting this message out into the world to his generation. And he's working with me on trying to find out, trying to help me see how to do that. He started making TikToks, and I finally had to say, I need approval of these, because he did one, and I was like, no, that's not going out there. It was a bizarre thing I did with my face. I was like, no, and he did it like 20 times. It was very funny. He said, Dad, you're going to get so many followers. I said, but why am I getting followers? That's also important. But this whole concept of how do we distill this down? Tiffany came up here and said how the book, The Power of Decision, was blowing her mind. Now, it's funny. The Power of Decision is the book I give everyone who says, I want to know about religious science. Which book should I read? I don't say Ernest Holmes. I say, read The Power of Decision by Raymond Charles Barker, who was one of Ernest Holmes' first students. But he distilled it much simpler than Ernest Holmes' 600-page book. This is a small book. And an actor came into my office one day and asked me about that, about his life. He wasn't getting the jobs he wanted. And I just took the book, handed it to him, and said, read this, the rest is history. And then he went and got one of the starring roles on True Blood, and he's had an amazing career ever since. But he totally credits reading that book just getting the simplicity of what you put into your mind, what you decide, manifests. So, what are you teaching yourself? Are you teaching yourself that life is hard? Or are you teaching yourself that life is a journey and life is an adventure? Are you teaching yourself that things can happen that will derail you? Or are you teaching yourself and realizing that nothing can derail me, for I am always on the perfect journey, at the right place, at the right time, with the right people, knowing what I need to know? That's the mind that's using its mind to think what it needs to think. That's the mind that's looking for the good in everything. So, this month, this year, we're doing action. What are you willing to do in terms of only looking at what you want? Because that's an action, just so you know. It's going to take action for you to change, as Ernest Holmes says here, your habitual thought patterns. It will take your decision-making and your willingness and your absolute attention and focus to really decide what you want to be thinking. Now, just to be clear, this does not mean, it doesn't mean that we have to pretend we don't see what we see. No, we get to see what we see. I watch the news. I see what's going on in the world. I try to read the paper every day. I know what's going on. Somebody said to me yesterday, it was my brother. I said, yeah, no, I had COVID. He said, you did? You didn't tell. I said, I didn't have any symptoms. He goes, well, the next variant's going to be really bad, they say. And I was like, who says that? Where did you read that the next variant's going to be bad? He was, it's around. I said, what is around? He says, people are saying it. I said, okay, if people are saying it, that's fearful people are getting themselves prepared for the next shoe to drop. And guess what? They should buy some socks because a lot of shoes are going to drop. I mean, that's how this works. So what are you teaching yourself? What are you willing to do? Are you willing to take the action this year to really focus your mind? It's why I say, if you're not in a class, you should join a class. If only to give yourself one night a week where you sit for a couple hours with me and with whoever's teaching, Tiffany, and listen to this stuff. Focus on only that which forces you to move forward. The more I learn about this teaching, and the more I learn about not just this teaching, but what this teaching has led to, the more my life continues to unfold in amazing ways, because I get it. I don't have the time or the luxury, nor do you, to let yourself entertain things you don't want to experience. Clear? I think that's pretty clear. But the journey is, can I do it? Can I really notice? Can I notice when my mind's going off course? And can I bring it back in that moment? So that's kind of how I wanted to end my talk today, which is, how do you bring it back? How do you make this work? I mean, I can stand up here and tell you what I think we should be doing, but how do you do it? How do you take habitual thought patterns and turn them around? Well, I have an idea. It's a 3-step observer pattern. So if you give me the first one, what you're looking at, the talk title today, ask yourself that all the time. And you don't have to say whatcha. What am I looking at? What am I looking at here? When something comes along and it doesn't look good to you, it doesn't feel good to you, the very first thing you should be saying is, what am I looking at? What am I really looking at here? Because there's a truth to this, okay? And then number 2, do I want to live the experience of what I'm looking at? This is similar to my I am thinking. What am I thinking? Do I want to live the experience of what I'm thinking? But what am I looking at? And do I want to live the experience of what I am looking at? Because here's the thing. You can look at something and it's like, this is awful. But the more you lean into the awful, the more you're creating from the awful. So I'm saying, look at it. Don't be afraid to look at it and go, what am I looking at here? Am I willing to live the experience of this? And then the third one is, what am I willing to see here? And that's a big one. What am I willing to see here? You're a choice. Just as the song says, you're in charge. You get to decide how your life's going to unfold. What am I willing to see here? You know, I see this pandemic I see people who have died from it. I have friends who have died from it. I know people that are sick. Mike Pancake is doing better, but he had a hard go of this. Many people have had a rough go of this particular thing. I see that. But what am I willing to see here? I'm willing to see strong, powerful, vibrant people who know that the mind creates our experience. It's very possible that this virus, since it is worldwide, came along to slow everybody down and say, you know what? You are all making this world a mess. Here, slow down. Now figure it out. That's good. I'd be happy if everybody slowed down. You know, just like we sing in the opening song, I want to make the entire world friends, no enemies. And as soon as we can make that happen in the world, imagine how the world's going to feel for all of us to live in it. So there you go. 3 things. What you're looking at. Do I want to live the experience of what I'm looking at? And what am I willing to see here? So I invite you, as we go through this whole year, not this month, not just this month, but this whole year, that you really engage yourself. You really become active in understanding this gift you have, this amazing tool you have called your mind. I will be here. You will be here. We will know this as we go along. But it's time to really step it up, step out, take action. Know that you are creating from the way you are looking at the world, from the way you are looking at yourself. You will not change one thing about this world if it's not changed in your own mind first. That's what we teach. That's how we teach. Now, we just have to do it. Do it now. Namaste.